They never saw it coming. The storm that was brewing beneath your silence, the fire that was quietly gathering heat in the ashes of what they thought was your ruin. They walked away with laughter still lingering on their lips, convinced they had won, convinced you were finished. They thought they had written your final chapter, nailed the coffin shut, and left you buried under the weight of their betrayal. But what they never realized, what they could never even fathom, was that you were never dead to begin with. You were only waiting. You see, they mistook your stillness for surrender. They mistook your silence for submission. But those who truly understand power know this: the most dangerous moment isn't when the beast is roaring, it's when the beast is watching, waiting, calculating. You weren't broken. You weren't finished. You were only gathering strength, absorbing every lesson, every cut, every whispered lie. Every time they walked past you with that smug satisfaction in their eyes, every time they spoke your name as if it held no weight, they were forging something inside you that even they would come to fear. They underestimated you. That was their greatest mistake. They thought they could play with your loyalty like a game, take your kindness as weakness, and spit on your dreams like they were nothing more than dust in the wind. They were so convinced that their words had power over you. They thought their rejection was your execution, their laughter, the final nail in your destiny. But they forgot one crucial thing. Legends aren't made in comfort. Kings aren't crowned in peace. Warriors aren't born in the light. They are forged in the darkness, in betrayal, in the moments when the world turns its back, believing there is no way forward. They thought they had left you behind, that you would crumble in the absence of their approval. They walked away believing you were weak, convinced that the pain they inflicted would be enough to keep you on your knees. They told themselves the story they needed to believe, one where they had power and you had none. But what they failed to see was the storm forming behind your eyes, the shift happening within you. They never realized that in breaking you, they were only building something unrecognizable, something stronger, something relentless, something they would one day fear, because you were never meant to stay down. You were never meant to fade into the background. You were never meant to accept their version of your story. And now, the silence they once mocked has become their greatest regret, because silence was never the absence of power. It was the waiting period before the reckoning. They don't know it yet, but you are coming. They fed you lies from the moment you took your first breath, whispered them into your ears like lullabies, stitched them into the fabric of your existence so tightly that you mistook them for truth. They told you that you were small, that your voice didn't matter, that your dreams were nothing more than foolish illusions meant to be discarded in the face of reality. They crafted a narrative where you were powerless, where you existed only as a background character in a story you were never meant to control. And you believed them. How could you not? When the world around you echoed their words, when every failure seemed to confirm their prophecy, when every setback felt like proof that they were right, you carried the weight of their doubts on your shoulders, mistaking their limitations for your own. You measured yourself against their expectations and found yourself lacking. You let their judgments become your prison, their ridicule your chains. Every time you dared to dream, a voice whispered, "Who do you think you are?" They wanted you to stay blind, to never realize the game they were playing, to never question why they feared your rise so much that they needed to plant seeds of doubt in your mind before you even had a chance to grow. They convinced you that power belonged to others, that success was reserved for the chosen few, for those born into privilege, for those who fit the mold. And you were just another nameless soul, another forgettable existence meant to follow the path laid out for you. But that was the biggest lie of all, because the truth they never wanted you to see, is that you were never weak, you were never small, you were never destined to be insignificant. You were meant to break the mold, to rewrite the rules, to shatter every illusion they built to keep you compliant. The world was never against you because you were weak. No, it was against you because it feared what would happen if you ever realized your strength. That's why they dismissed you. That's why they laughed. That's why they pushed you down, made you second guess yourself, made you feel like you weren't enough. Because deep down they knew that if you ever saw the truth, if you ever woke up, you would become something unstoppable, something they couldn't control, something they couldn't silence. But the deception ends here. No more believing the lie. No more shrinking yourself to fit into their world. No more playing by their rules. This is the moment you reclaim your power. This is the moment you shatter the illusion, because the truth has always been there waiting for you to see it. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were always meant to rise. Betrayal is a blade that always cuts deeper than expected. It never announces itself with a warning. It comes in whispers behind your back, in the cold absence of loyalty, in the cruel laughter of those who swore they would stand beside you. You trusted them, you believed in them, and yet, when you needed them most, they vanished. When you stumbled, they didn't reach out a hand. They turned away. When you fell, they didn't help you rise. They walked over you like you were nothing. They doubted you from the beginning. They watched your struggle and smirked, waiting for you to collapse under the weight of your own ambition. They called you foolish for dreaming too big, for believing you could be more than what the world had assigned you to be. Every time you spoke of your vision, of your purpose, of the fire burning inside you, they shook their heads. They laughed. They whispered to each other, "They won't make it." They threw stones at your confidence, hoping one would finally break you. And when you hit your lowest point, when you had nothing left but your breath and your heartbeat, they made their choice. They left. They counted you out. They wrote you off like an unfinished story that wasn't worth the ink. They thought they had won, thought they had buried you beneath their doubt, their betrayal, their rejection. They convinced themselves that you were done, that they would never have to hear your name spoken with reverence or power. But what they failed to understand was this: you weren't broken, you were awakening. The betrayal, the disappointment, the loneliness, it wasn't your end. It was your transformation. The very weight they placed on your back was what forced you to grow stronger. The rejection that was meant to silence you became the reason you found your voice. The ones who walked away, they thought they had closed your chapter, but all they did was set the stage for the greatest comeback they would never see coming, because they underestimated the wrong person. They thought you would fade into the background, disappear into mediocrity. But now, the same people who doubted you will be forced to watch as you rise from the ashes they tried to bury you in. And when they see you, stronger, wiser, unstoppable, their deepest regret will be realizing that they had a front row seat to greatness, but they turned their backs before the show even began. Falling feels like the end. The moment your world shatters, the moment everything you built comes crashing down, it feels like there's nothing left. You stand in the wreckage of your plans, staring at the pieces, wondering if you'll ever be whole again. This is the moment that defines most people. Not the victories, not the successes, but the collapse. Because what you do after the fall determines everything. Most people stay down. They let the failure, the pain, the weight of their mistakes hold them captive. They accept the loss as permanent, convince themselves that they were never meant to rise again. But you are not most people. You were forged in the fall. Because the most dangerous person in the world is not the one who never lost. It's the one who was forced to rebuild from nothing. When you fall, you are stripped of illusions. You see who is real and who is only there for the easy moments. You see the truth of yourself, beyond the masks, beyond the expectations, and in that raw, brutal honesty you find something unshakable: power. The fall does not break you, it wakes you up. It forces you to decide with no more distractions who you really are. The world thought it had you figured out. They labeled you, judged you, assumed your limits. But when everything collapsed, when you stood alone in the dark, that was the moment your real story began. Because while they saw a downfall, they never expected you to use it. They never saw the way you turned every scar into armor, every failure into fuel, every moment of pain into unrelenting drive. And now, here you are. Not the person they left behind, not the person they underestimated, but something stronger, sharper, relentless. They thought the fall was your ending, but what they didn't know was that you were only just getting started. There comes a moment in every warrior's story when the world turns its back. It doesn't happen all at once. It starts with whispers, with doubt creeping in like a slow poison. The people you trusted hesitate when you speak. Their eyes shift when you share your dreams. The ones who once stood beside you take a step back, distancing themselves like you've suddenly become too much, too ambitious, too different. And then, one by one, they disappear. Rejection isn't just a moment. It's a slow burn. It's a series of cold shoulders, of unanswered calls, of doors that should have opened but never did. It's standing in a room full of people and feeling invisible. It's hearing your name in their mouths, but only as a punchline, only as a story of failure. They mock your ambition, they tear down your confidence, they laugh as if your struggle is entertainment. And with every smirk, every dismissal, every moment of humiliation, the message becomes clearer. They don't believe in you. Then comes the silence, the empty spaces where friendship used to be, the absence of voices that once encouraged you. You realize that the people who swore they'd always be there are gone, and the ones who are left, they don't see you as an equal anymore. They see you as someone who lost, someone who failed, someone they don't need to respect. And that is where the loneliness begins to carve itself into your bones. You start to question everything. Were they ever really on my side? Was I ever enough? Am I really as weak as they make me feel? Because the thing about being pushed down, about being treated like you don't matter, is that at some point, a part of you starts to believe it. At some point, the weight of their doubt begins to press against your chest, suffocating, relentless. And yet this is the moment that matters most, because it's in this emptiness, in this unbearable isolation, that you are faced with a decision. Will you accept their version of you, or will you redefine yourself? The world turned its back on you, but they made a mistake, because when they left you in the dark, they forgot that darkness is where stars are born. The loudest war is not the one fought with weapons. It is not the battle against enemies who stand in front of you. No, the war that truly decides your fate is the one that rages within your own mind. And when the world turned its back, when the silence became deafening, that is when the voices in your head grew louder than ever before. They come in waves, relentless and unforgiving. You're not good enough. You were never meant to make it. Look at yourself. You're failing. You should just give up. The echoes of every doubt you've ever had, every insult you've ever heard, every moment of rejection you've ever felt, replay in your mind like a broken record, trying to drag you down into the abyss. The past comes back with a vengeance, whispering all the reasons why you should stop fighting, why it would be easier to just fade into nothingness. Then comes the anger, the rage that burns in your chest, a fire that threatens to consume everything in its path. It is not just anger at them, it is anger at yourself, for believing the lies, for trusting the wrong people, for letting their words sink into your skin like poison. You want to scream, to lash out, to break something, anything, just to make the pain stop. But rage is a dangerous thing. It can either destroy you or it can become the very thing that saves you. And this is where the battle begins. Because in this moment, you have two choices. Give in or rise up. Give in to the doubts, to the fear, to the belief that you are nothing more than what they say you are, or rise up and prove them all wrong. You have been abandoned. You have been mocked. You have been told you will never make it. But they don't know the truth. They don't know what they have just done. In their attempt to break you, they have built something they cannot control. They have ignited something within you that they will one day regret. Because now you see the truth. The war is not over, and you are not defeated. They don't know it yet, but they just built the greatest warrior. They thought it was over. They thought they had crushed you, silenced you, erased you from the story. They walked away with smug satisfaction, certain that you would never rise again. They never expected a fight. They never thought you had the strength, the resilience, the sheer will to come back. And that was their greatest mistake. Because while they laughed, while they celebrated your downfall, something inside you was shifting. The pain, the betrayal, the humiliation, they weren't weights holding you down anymore. They became the very fuel that ignited something unstoppable. You didn't just survive, you evolved. Every scar became a lesson, every failure became a blueprint, every moment of doubt became the foundation of something greater. And now the ones who mocked you, the ones who cast you aside, are starting to notice. They hear your name again, but not as a whisper of failure. This time, it carries power. They see you moving, rising, achieving, and the unease begins to set in. The same people who dismissed you now feel a strange fear creeping into their bones. At first, they tell themselves, it's just luck. A temporary success, nothing to be concerned about. But then they see it, the determination in your eyes, the unshakable confidence in your step. You are not the same person they once ridiculed. You are something else entirely now. And suddenly, they realize they should have never doubted you. They should have never crossed you. Their deepest regret is not the things they said to you. It's not even the way they betrayed you. It's the fact that they underestimated you. Because now they are forced to watch as you become everything they swore you could never be, and there is nothing they can do to stop it. They thought they had won, they were wrong, and now the only thing left for them to do is regret ever doubting you in the first place. Pain can do two things. It can break you, or it can build you into something unrecognizable. Most people let it break them. They sit in the wreckage of their failure, drowning in regret, allowing the weight of their past to smother whatever future they had left. But not you. You made a different choice. At first, the pain felt unbearable. The betrayal, the humiliation, the loneliness, it clawed at your mind, whispering for you to give up. But instead of letting it consume you, you did something they never expected. You used it. Every insult became a lesson, every rejection became a fire, every scar became a reminder that you survived when they swore you wouldn't. Because while they walked away thinking they had won, you were doing the one thing they never expected, rebuilding. Not just to recover, but to dominate. You didn't just heal, you sharpened yourself. You didn't just get back up, you rose with purpose. You became smarter, stronger, more relentless than ever before. You took every moment of suffering and turned it into something they could never take away from you, power. And now, everything is different. Now the fire in your eyes is undeniable. Now the way you carry yourself makes them hesitate. They don't laugh anymore. They don't mock anymore, because they feel it, the shift, the storm, the presence of something they never saw coming. They never feared you before. But they will. Something changed. The version of you they once knew, the one who hesitated, who questioned, who begged for acceptance, that person no longer exists. You are becoming something else. Something they can't define, something they can't predict. This is not just a comeback, this is a rebirth. The transformation did not happen overnight. It was forged in the fire of rejection, in the suffocating loneliness, in the echoes of every cruel word spoken against you. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt was fuel. Fuel that fed the new version of you that is now rising from the ruins. Physically, they might not see the change at first, but mentally, the shift is undeniable. You no longer seek approval, you no longer crave validation. Their opinions, once so powerful, now mean nothing. You move differently now, not as someone who hopes for success, but as someone who knows it is already theirs. The first steps into this new identity are unfamiliar. You feel the weight of your past trying to pull you back, whispering that you can't change, but you refuse to listen. Because deep down, something inside you has awakened, a power that was always there, waiting for you to claim it. This is the moment where everything changes, where you stop asking for a seat at the table and start building your own throne. The old you would have hesitated, the old you would have feared the unknown, but the old you is gone, and when they see you again, when they finally realize what you've become, it will be too late. Because you are no longer the person they abandoned. You are no longer the person they betrayed. You are something else entirely. There was a time when you waited for them to realize what they did, waited for an apology that never came, waited for recognition, for fairness, for someone to finally see your worth and tell you you deserved better. But that time is over. No more begging. No more waiting. You wasted too many days hoping the people who hurt you would change, that they would see their mistakes and make it right, that the world would suddenly become fair, and the respect you should have been given would finally be handed to you. But life doesn't work that way. The truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to hand you what you deserve. If you want it, you take it. You don't need their apology. You don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. What you need is action. What you need is to step into your power without waiting for permission. They made you feel like you had to earn their respect, but you never needed it in the first place. Their opinions do not define your value. Their acceptance does not determine your success. You do. This is the moment you stop waiting for doors to open and start kicking them down. The moment you stop hoping for a chance and start taking what is already yours. You are not the person who stands in the background anymore. You are not the one who hesitates while others make decisions about your future. From now on, you move with certainty, with clarity, with purpose. And when they look at you, when they see the fire in your eyes, the unstoppable force you have become, they will finally understand. They had their chance to stand beside you. They had their chance to recognize your worth, but they waited too long because you're not waiting anymore. You're taking everything they said you couldn't have. They thought you were weak. They thought you were harmless. They saw your kindness as softness, your silence as fear, your patience as surrender. They mistook your ability to endure as proof that you had no fight in you, but they were wrong. Underestimation is a weapon, a silent, deadly advantage that fools your enemies into thinking they have already won. They never prepared for retaliation because they never believed you were capable of it. They struck first, thinking you would crumble. They betrayed you, believing you would stay broken. They counted you out before the battle had even begun. But their greatest mistake wasn't in attacking you. It was in believing you wouldn't strike back. What they never realized was that you were never weak. You were never incapable. You were simply waiting, watching, learning. Every insult, every rejection, every act of betrayal was stored inside you, not as wounds, but as fuel. They thought they were diminishing you, when in reality, they were building something far more powerful than they could comprehend. Now, the tables have turned. The element of surprise is yours. They do not recognize this version of you, the one who walks without hesitation, the one who no longer looks for approval, the one who owns every room they enter. They see the confidence, the resilience, the force of will that they never knew existed inside you, and it terrifies them, because now they understand. They never should have underestimated you. They never should have assumed you were incapable of fighting back. They never should have thought you would stay silent. They gave you every reason to rise, and now they have to live with the consequences. This is the power of being underestimated. While they were busy writing you off, you were preparing your comeback. And now, as they watch you reclaim everything they tried to take, they are left with one realization that will haunt them forever. They never saw this version of you coming. They thought it was over. They spoke your name in the past tense, as if you were nothing more than a forgotten failure, a ghost of what could have been. They convinced themselves that they had buried you so deep, You would never claw your way back. They laughed, they moved on, they acted as if you never existed. But what they didn't realize was that you were never gone. You were just getting started. Setbacks are illusions for those who don't understand resilience. They saw your fall as permanent because they could never survive what you endured. They saw your silence as defeat because they had never known the patience of a warrior waiting for the right moment. They counted you out, but they never knew how to count. Because the truth is, every time they knocked you down, they were only positioning you for something greater. Every loss you suffered was nothing more than a lesson, disguised as pain. They thought they broke you, but they were wrong. What they shattered was nothing more than a weaker version of you, the one who still cared about their approval, the one who hesitated, the one who doubted. That version of you no longer exists. What remains is something unstoppable, something sharper, something they will learn to fear. And now, they will have to watch. Watch as you rise higher than they ever expected. Watch as you take back everything they tried to steal. Watch as their own arrogance becomes the reason they are left behind. They once dismissed you, but now they will remember your name. Because this isn't the end of your story, it's just the beginning. And this time, you're the one writing it. There's no need for anger, no need for words, no need to chase those who wronged you. Because the greatest revenge is not in proving them wrong, it is in proving yourself right. Success is the loudest revenge. They left you with nothing, thinking that was the end of you. They expected you to beg, to crumble, to disappear into the shadows, but instead you built yourself from the ground up. Every moment of doubt they fed you became the very fire that kept you going. Every time they looked down on you, it only pushed you further. The pain, the betrayal, the humiliation. You transformed it into power. They once saw you as broken. Now they see something they cannot understand. You no longer react to their words because their words are meaningless. You no longer seek their validation because their opinions hold no weight. You are not fueled by revenge. You are fueled by purpose. And purpose is something they will never take away from you. And now, the silence is deafening because they see you, rising, thriving, becoming everything they swore you never would be. And there is nothing they can do about it. They cannot stop you. They cannot take back their betrayal. They cannot erase the regret that now sits heavy in their chest every time they hear your name. You do not need to retaliate. You do not need to explain. You let your success speak for itself. The very people who doubted you are now forced to watch as you ascend to levels they will never reach. And that is the loudest revenge of all. At first they ignored you, they dismissed you, wrote you off, convinced themselves that you were just another failure, another forgotten name. They never gave you a second thought, certain that they had crushed whatever ambition was left in you. But now they can't stop watching. It started with whispers. Small conversations behind closed doors. Mentions of your name in rooms they never expected you to walk into. At first they denied it. No, it can't be them. There's no way they made it. But then they saw it for themselves. They saw your success, your rise, your transformation. And suddenly doubt began to creep into their minds. They thought you were gone. But now your presence is undeniable. The same people who underestimated you are now watching your every move. They don't congratulate you. They don't acknowledge what you've done. Instead, they sit in silence trying to figure out how this happened, how the person they abandoned, the person they laughed at, the person they thought was finished, is now standing taller than ever. Regret is a heavy thing to carry. And now, it's weighing on them like a burden they can't escape. They see you walking past them, indifferent, unaffected, as if their betrayal meant nothing to you. And that's what eats at them the most. You don't even look back. You don't seek their approval. You don't acknowledge their doubt. You've outgrown them. They will never say it out loud, but deep inside, they know the truth. They made a mistake. They turned their backs on something great. They let their arrogance blind them to your potential, and now they are forced to watch as you become everything they swore you never could be. They once controlled the narrative. They once had power over how your story would be told. But now they're just spectators, watching, regretting, knowing that they never should have doubted you. There is no need to speak, no need to explain, no need to prove anything to anyone. The strongest moves are made in silence. Power isn't announced, it is demonstrated. They expect you to talk. They expect you to explain yourself, to justify your actions, to let them know what's coming next. But you've learned something they never did. Real power moves in silence. The loudest person in the room is never the most dangerous. The one who watches, who calculates, who moves without warning. That's the one they should fear. You don't tell them your plans. You don't broadcast your every move. You simply build. While they waste time talking, doubting, waiting, you work. You rise in the shadows, putting in the effort when no one is watching, sharpening yourself without an audience, and then, when they least expect it, you arrive. Not with noise, not with warnings, but with undeniable results, and that's when it starts to haunt them. Because they realize they never saw it coming. They had no time to prepare, no way to stop you. One day you were irrelevant to them. The next, you are everywhere. They hear your name in places they never expected. They see your success in ways they can't ignore. And the worst part, they had no idea it was happening. There is a certain kind of fear that comes with knowing you underestimated someone, that you let them slip through your fingers, believing they would always remain beneath you. And now, as they scramble to figure out how you did it, they will come to understand the lesson you've always known. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. So let them wonder, let them overthink, let them drown in their own regret. Because while they're watching, you are already onto your next move. The balance has shifted. The same people who once held power over you, who mocked you, doubted you, and tried to break you, now find themselves on the other side. The tables have turned, and the ones who once walked away with arrogance now stand in uncertainty. Because for the first time, you hold the power. They were so confident before, so sure that you would never amount to anything, that their betrayal would be the final nail in your coffin. But now, as they watch you rise, as they see you stand taller than ever before, they are left wondering, what happens now? Will you seek revenge? Will you make them pay for every word, every action, every moment they tried to break you? The fear sets in. They remember how they treated you. They remember the things they said, the way they laughed, the way they pushed you aside like you were nothing. And now, standing in the shadow of your success, they are the ones who feel small. They no longer control the story. They no longer dictate your worth. They no longer get to decide your fate. Now, the decision is yours. Do you acknowledge them? Do you remind them of what they did? Do you give them the same coldness they once gave you? Or do you do something even more powerful? Walk away without a second glance, letting your success speak louder than any revenge ever could. They never thought this moment would come. They never imagined they would be the ones questioning their place, while you stand firmly in yours. But this is the reality they created, and now they must live with the consequences. They never thought they'd see this day. Never imagined that the person they mocked, doubted, and dismissed would be the one standing at the top. But now they have no choice but to watch. They remember the way they laughed at you, the way they rolled their eyes when you spoke of your dreams, the way they cast you aside like you were nothing. But today, the joke is on them, because now your name is spoken with respect. Now the same people who tried to break you are forced to witness your rise. At first, they pretend not to notice. They try to act like it doesn't bother them. But they see you. Every success, every achievement, every moment of victory. You are everywhere. And there is nothing they can do about it. And the worst part, they know they played a role in your transformation. They know that their betrayal, their rejection, their doubt was the very thing that fueled you to become something greater than they ever imagined. Now, they use your name as motivation. The same people who swore you would never make it are now trying to figure out how you did it. They whisper your name, not with ridicule, but with regret. They wish they had believed in you. They wish they had stayed close. They wish they had never doubted you in the first place. But it's too late. They had their chance. They could have stood by your side, but instead they chose to stand in your way. And now, they are nothing more than spectators to your success. There is a shift in the air, a silent but undeniable realization that creeps into their minds. They don't have control anymore. They can no longer shape the narrative, can no longer define your worth, can no longer manipulate how the world sees you. That power now belongs to you, and it terrifies them. For so long, they dictated the story. They were the ones who decided where you fit in, what you could achieve, what you were capable of. They spoke about you as if they had the final say. But now, standing in the undeniable presence of your success, they know the truth. They never had control at all. The fear sets in. They wonder if you will do to them what they did to you. Will you betray them the way they betrayed you? Will you humiliate them the way they once laughed at you? Will you take away opportunities, shut them out, make them feel as small as they once made you feel? They are afraid of what happens next. They scan your face for signs of vengeance, for the same cruelty they once showed you. But they don't see hatred in your eyes. They see something even more unsettling: indifference. You have outgrown them. You have moved past them, and that is what truly haunts them. Because revenge would mean you still cared, but you don't. Their existence is irrelevant to your success. You don't need them. You never did, and now they finally understand what that means. They used to be in control. Now they are just another name in the story they no longer have the power to write. Revenge was never necessary. You never had to lift a finger, never had to plot, never had to strike back. Because life has a way of balancing the scales. The universe took care of everything for you. They thought they got away with it. They thought their betrayal, their cruelty, their doubt would never come back to haunt them. But now, as they sit in silence, watching your success unfold before their eyes, they feel it, the weight of regret pressing down on them. They see you thriving, unstoppable, untouchable. They hear your name spoken with respect, see doors opening for you that they once swore would remain closed, and the realization dawns on them. They played themselves. They had the chance to be part of your story, to stand beside you, to believe in you, but they threw it away, and now they have to live with that decision. Karma is not always loud. It doesn't always come in the form of punishment or destruction. Sometimes karma is watching someone you once belittled rise to a level you can never reach. Sometimes karma is realizing that you are now the one left behind, while the person you underestimated has moved so far ahead that you don't even exist in their world anymore. And that is the real punishment, because you are free, you are unbothered, you are winning, and they are trapped in the very thing they tried to use against you. Their own doubt, their own limitations, their own regret. There is no need for revenge. You have already won. They took everything they could. They took your trust, your time, your kindness, and shattered it without a second thought. They betrayed you, mocked you, laughed in your face as if your pain was nothing more than entertainment. They broke every unspoken promise, turned their backs when you needed them most, and watched as you struggled, believing that would be the end of you. But there was one thing they could never touch: your will. They could steal your opportunities, but they could never take your hunger. They could try to break your confidence, but they could never touch the fire burning inside you. They could strip away your support system, leave you with nothing, and still, you endured. Still, you stood back up. Still, you found a way to keep going, because what they never realized was that your power never came from them. It was never in their approval, never in their acceptance, never in their hands to give or take. Your power was always inside you. They thought they had control. They thought they had the ability to define your future. But no amount of betrayal, rejection, or failure could ever erase what was already destined for you. You refused to quit. You refused to let them win. And because of that, you stand here today, stronger than ever. They could take everything from you, but they could never take away your will to rise. And that is why they lost. Look at where you started. Look at the version of yourself they once knew. The one who doubted, who hesitated, who second-guessed their worth because the world told them they weren't enough. The one who sought approval, who wanted to be accepted, who believed in people who never deserved their loyalty. That version of you is gone. You've walked through fire. You've been betrayed, broken, underestimated. You've faced loss, rejection, and nights so dark that you thought you'd never see the light again. But you didn't break. You didn't let them define you. You took every wound, every scar, every setback, and turned it into something stronger. Now, when you look in the mirror, you don't see the person they abandoned. You don't see the person they laughed at. You see someone unshakable, someone they can no longer control, someone who moves with purpose, with power, with undeniable certainty. They wouldn't recognize you now. They wouldn't know how to speak to you, how to manipulate you, how to plant seeds of doubt in your mind like they once did, because the person standing here today, you don't need them, you never did. This is your ultimate victory. Not just success, not just proving them wrong, but proving yourself right. You are no longer the same. You are unstoppable. They were certain you wouldn't make it. They thought their absence would destroy you, that their betrayal would leave you too shattered to rebuild. They convinced themselves that you needed them, that without their approval, their validation, their presence in your life, you would never rise. But they were wrong. You didn't just survive, you thrived. You took the very pain they inflicted and turned it into fuel. Every insult, every rejection, every moment of doubt became a stepping stone toward your greatness. They thought they were the reason for your failure, but instead, they became the reason for your success. Now they watch from the sidelines, struggling to understand how you did it, how you built yourself up from nothing, how you kept going when they left you for dead. They see the strength in your presence, the confidence in your movements, the undeniable force of someone who has nothing left to prove. They thought you would come crawling back. They thought you would need their approval to feel whole again. But instead, you've risen to heights they never even imagined. And now, they're the ones left wondering what could have been. Because the truth is, they never expected you to thrive. They never expected you to win without them. They believed they were necessary for your success. But now, they are nothing more than a forgotten chapter in the story of your rise. There was a time when your name was nothing more than a whisper, spoken in doubt, in ridicule, in dismissal. They mentioned you only to mock you, only to remind others of your failures, only to reinforce the belief that you would never amount to anything. But those days are over. Now, your name carries weight. Now, when they speak of you, it is not with laughter, but with respect. The same people who once ignored you, who overlooked you, who doubted you, now they say your name with hesitation, with awe, with the uneasy realization that they were wrong. You are no longer a cautionary tale. You are no longer the person they counted out. You are the one they look up to, the one they wish they had believed in. The world no longer pities you, no longer underestimates you. It acknowledges you. Your story, your struggle, your rise, it is undeniable. They remember every moment they doubted you, every opportunity they denied you, every time they made you feel like you were nothing, and now they have no choice but to recognize your greatness. Because your name will not be forgotten. Your name will be remembered. You don't need to look back. You don't need to seek closure, explanations, or apologies. The ones who doubted you, who betrayed you, who underestimated you, they are behind you now. And that is exactly where they will stay. You walk away, not as a victim, not as someone who was broken and barely survived, but as someone who rose above it all. They wanted you to hold on to the pain, to stay stuck in the past, to carry the weight of their betrayal forever. But you refuse, because you understand something they never did. True power is knowing when to let go. They wanted you to seek revenge, to prove yourself to them, to show them that they were wrong. But there is no need. You already won. Your success, your growth, your unshakable presence in this world is the only proof you ever needed. So you walk away with grace, power, and zero regrets. Not because you forgot what they did, not because you forgive them, but because they no longer matter. Their chapter in your story is over. And now, as they watch you go, stronger, wiser, unstoppable, they finally understand. They thought they had power over you, but you were never theirs to control. They thought they knew you. They thought they had you figured out, neatly boxed into the version of you that they could control, manipulate, and disregard. They thought their rejection would define you, their doubt would break you, their absence would weaken you. But what they never realized, what they never saw coming, was the storm that was building inside you all along. You never needed their approval. You never needed their permission. You never needed a seat at their table, because you were never meant to follow their rules. You were meant to shatter them. Every setback, every betrayal, every whispered doubt was nothing more than the quiet before the thunder. And when the time came, you didn't ask, you didn't wait. You took what was yours. They should have known. They should have seen it in your eyes, in your resilience, in the way you refused to stay down. But they were too blinded by their arrogance, too comfortable in their belief that you would always remain beneath them. And now they stand in the wreckage of their own underestimation. Because you were never just another name, never just another failure. You were the storm they never saw coming, and now they will never forget it. Enough waiting, enough doubting, enough standing on the sidelines, watching others take what should have been yours. This is your moment. This is your time. No more excuses, no more hesitation. For too long you have let the world dictate your worth. You have let the voices of others shape your destiny. You have played small, allowed fear to keep you locked in place, and waited for the perfect moment. But here's the truth. The perfect moment will never come. You create it. Everything you've been through has led you to this point. Every setback, every betrayal, every moment of struggle. It was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to prepare you. You were built for more. You were never meant to be ordinary. But the only way forward is to decide, right now, that you will never again let anyone make you question who you are. So what will you do? Will you keep waiting for validation? Will you keep letting the past hold you back? Or will you step up, take control, and own the power that has always been inside you? The world doesn't need another person waiting for permission to be great. It needs you to rise. It needs you to step into your purpose with unshakable certainty. It needs you to be the version of yourself that you were always meant to be. No more waiting, no more doubting, no more asking. The time is now. It's your turn to be the storm they never saw coming. This is not where your story ends. This is where it begins. Everything you have been through, every struggle, every loss, every moment of pain was never meant to be the final chapter. It was the foundation, the starting point, the moment before the rise. You are standing at the edge of something greater than you have ever imagined. But the choice is yours. Will you step forward, or will you let fear hold you back? Now is the time to embrace your power, to stop hesitating, to stop letting doubt dictate your path. The world has already tried to break you, already tested you, already pushed you to the edge, and yet you are still here. That means there is more for you. That means you are not finished. Take the risk. Bet on yourself. Step fully into your potential. The past no longer defines you. The people who doubted you no longer have a say in what happens next. Only you do. Every legend, every success story, every person who changed the world made one decision. They refused to settle. And now, it is your turn to do the same. This is not the end. This is not just a moment. This is your beginning. The world is waiting. The future is waiting. You are the storm they never saw coming. So what are you going to do about it?